Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Whistler in trouble. I absolutely hate wolf whistlers. There is just no need for such outrageous behavior, and the people that do it are just complete and utter scum. As I was walking along a delightful little path that ran through the massive campus at one of the local universities in Canterbury, England, with large cherry blossoms in full bloom lining the path, all I could hear was the horrible sound of wolf whistling. I had to get closer and teach the whistler a lesson. My name is Matilda Plum, a superhero in the counseling and therapy sector, and it is my job to go round and see if people need any help. I solve their problems and I check on their mental health. But I do hate wolf whistlers. Thankfully, I was walking with my best friend Aiden, who was another superhero in the same sector as me. But unlike my tennis shoes, jeans and a nice blouse, he was wearing some black trousers, a white shirt and black shoes. He did look amazingly hot and sexy, and now I really understood why his boyfriend Jack loved him so much. That was why we were walking through the university actually, because Jack wanted to see us. As we kept walking through the path, I noticed various women started to walk quicker when they passed a very young and tall man. At first I was rather surprised that he was the whistler, considering how handsome, attractive and slightly posh he looked, and I really liked his longish brown hair that was parted to the left. It was definitely smarter than my long hair that I had decided to dye a dark pink today. With the sound of birds singing, students muttering how much they hated the whistler, and the whistling itself getting louder and louder, I just looked at Aiden and he knew I wanted to do something. Now, one of the great things about being a superhero in the counseling and therapy sector was all the myths about psychologists and therapists were actually my superpowers. So people did need to watch what they say, how they acted and how they looked at me, because I could analyze them. Both me and Aiden stood to one side of the path and tapped into our powers. As I felt all the hate, anger and rage being directed at these women by the whistler, I was just horrified. This man hated women with a passion, and he had beaten so many up over the past few years, and that only made him horny. He always got off on beating up women. I just looked at Aiden. He had actually gone slightly white. "We have to stop him," I said. Aiden nodded. "But there's more. He's part of an entire network of sexist pigs all around the world." I really didn't want to believe Aiden, so I focused back on the whistler and really focused on him. "Well," I said. I couldn't believe all this. There was actually a website in the dark web dedicated to the celebration, worship and sacrificing of so-called useless women. This whistler seemed to be someone high up in the website. His name was Reuben Grant. I hated his name almost as much as I hated the man. "We're going to need some more superhero and divine help," I said. Aiden nodded and bit his lip. I just smiled. I too was rather excited about seeing and working with Jack and my other friends on this problem. "I just want to deal with this man first," I said, smiling. Aiden started laughing, as he could probably guess what I was going to do. One of my favorite superpowers was the ability to influence people and make them do things they would never normally do, so I focused on the whistler and implanted 3 simple suggestions. Firstly, he would punch himself in the balls as hard as he could whenever he even thought about hurting anyone, regardless of what gender they were. Secondly, he would call the police and confess to all of his beatings and hate crimes. Thirdly, whenever he remembered and thought and considered his victims or hurting someone, he would start crying like a baby too. "Ouch!" the whistler shouted. I looked over and laughed as I saw him fall to the ground crying like a baby, and he kept screaming how badly his balls hurt. A woman walked past. He hit himself in the balls again. I was laughing so hard I was struggling to breathe. But me and Aiden had real problems to deal with. We had to stop his sexist network forever. Before now, I had no idea Aiden could teleport me and him back to my very large white office with its smooth walls, high-tech and expensive look. A few seconds later, Jack appeared wearing the exact same as Aiden, and the two men kissed each other quickly as I sat on my desk, and they sat on two modern chairs in front of me. If we didn't have massive sexist problems, then I probably would have opened a window or something because of how hot it was, but we had much bigger problems than the temperature. Aiden quickly explained the situation to Jack, including the name of the website, and his face just dropped.
The problem is the website is on the dark web, Jack said.
I was treating a guy once who was a depressed computer hacker, learnt tons, and he said he liked to owe me a favor. As much as I hated and refused to let our mental health clients give us gifts, favors or anything else, I definitely felt the need to make an exception on this one occasion. I just nodded at Jack. He went off and made a phone call.
What did you want to do with all the members?
Aiden asked. I grinned.
Well, the police will deal with them legally.
But I think we should do two things as psychologists. Aiden grinned too. I think we need to help the victims if any are still alive with their recovery, so they can seek professional help wherever they are in the world, know they do have a life after this and that they're free to live without fear. Aiden's grin deepened. And the second thing? I just shrugged. Let's give the world a major increase in the need for testicle doctors. Aiden just laughed. This was going to be amazing fun. I heard our printer working, and moments later Jack walked back in and gave me and Aiden pages upon pages of paper containing the names, addresses and bank account details of the members. There were thousands. I really didn't expect there to be so many sexist people spread all over the world.
It will take us months to deal with all these people, Aiden said.
I looked up at the ceiling.
Natalia, a little help.
Natalia was my boss and goddess of the counseling, therapy and psychology sector. If anyone could help us, it would be her, and considering she was one of the most beautiful women I had ever seen, it was hardly ever a bad thing to see her. A few seconds later she appeared in my office with her long golden hair, amazingly fit body, and just such a perfectly beautiful model-like face. It was no wonder why she was a goddess. Before she could say anything, I quickly explained to her the situation, and I honestly couldn't get an emotional reading on her. Her face was like stone. Now, if I was talking to a god or superhero who worked in the gambling sector, then I would have been fine. But considering counseling superheroes and goddesses were some of the most expressive beings in the world, I knew she was furious. James! Natalia shouted. I was almost a bit surprised she was deciding to call in James Peabody, another superhero in our sector, because I hadn't seen him since I had found him being a creep with his mind-reading abilities, but apparently he was a powerful superhero now. Moments later he appeared and wow. I meant I was lent towards men and women, with men being my main preference, but bloody hell with James in his tight silver suit that left so little to the imagination, expensive haircut and his movie star smile. He had changed so much since I last saw him. I thought I was about to orgasm. And if that happened, I was fairly sure Jack and Aiden wouldn't be too far behind me. Natalia quickly explained the situation to James, and he had to sit down. All of us hated this network, and we were determined to take them all down. Now we had our superhero and a goddess team. We were ready. We just didn't know how to get to them all. I couldn't teleport. So the problems just kept coming. In actual fact, it turned out I could teleport, I just needed to have someone actually tell me how. It was a lot easier than I ever could have imagined. Literally. So as I imagined appearing in number 250 of my list of sexist pigs, I found myself in an awful hospital room with dirty white walls, a large damp hospital bed, and a very overweight man laying there. His laptop was still turned on the little table next to him, and surprise, surprise, he had been typing messages into the sexist network. The sound of someone crying and wiping away tears made me look at a wooden chair next to the overweight man, and I gently smiled at the crying woman sitting there. I instantly knew she was the wife of this pig, and judging by how blackened and bruised and upset she was, I knew she had been abused terribly over the years. Out of the 249 people I had dealt with, and healed their families, she had to be the worst affected person. I slowly went over to her, and it was clear as day as she just presumed I had walked in through the door and not teleported in. The woman was wearing long sleeves, and I could sense how badly she didn't want me to see the damage. I tapped into my calming superpower and directed it at her. She seemed to relax instantly and she smiled. It was probably her first smile in years. As much as I wanted to stick around and really help her, I didn't have the time. I still had another 800 names on my list that I needed to deal with as soon as possible. I gently placed my hands on her shoulder and tapped into my influencing superpowers. Hi there, Harper. I need you to do a few things for me. The moment I left this room, you will not remember me being here, but my suggestions will remain. Understand? She nodded. I hated having to influence people this much. As a psychologist, it just felt so wrong, but there was no time. The moment I leave, you will file for divorce, seek professional counseling, and you will learn to live with your trauma, going on to live a full, productive life. She smiled and nodded. I hugged her quickly. Then I went over to her idiot husband and grabbed him by the ear. He hissed in pain, but he was a bit unconscious because of the cancer meds he was on. Sadly, he was going to survive though. You will let your wife divorce you. You will not resist. Whenever you think about harming another living thing, you will hit yourself so hard in the balls, you feel like they will break open. You will feel so guilty for the rest of your life about your crimes and abuse, that you will cry yourself to sleep every night. Do you understand? He slowly nodded. I wished he would kill himself, but my superpowers always added in the command never to kill himself or others. And I liked that. Last thing, you will call the police the moment I leave, and you will confess to all your crimes. Understand? He frowned but nodded, and he was starting to wake up. With that little pig dealt with, I just smiled. I had a lot more people to help and I was really looking forward to it. About 2 days later, me, Jack and Aiden all appeared back in my office at the same time and they looked exhausted. I couldn't blame them. I felt like I could sleep for decades. I never knew teleporting, influencing and helping so many people could be so tiring, so as me, Jack and Aiden sort of moved the chairs in my office and half sat, half fell onto the warm carpet of my office floor. We all just smiled. Each of us had helped about 1,000 people in the past 2-3 days, and it felt amazing. The smell of intense coffee filled the office as Natalia and James teleported in, massive smiles filling their faces, and plenty of cups of coffee in their hands.
But what surprised me even more was Natalia just sat on the floor as well.
Let me repeat, a goddess sat on my dirty floor. I didn't know whether to be embarrassed, grateful, or something else entirely. Yet all 5 of us seemed perfectly happy as we sat on the ground, smiling, and just so pleased with what we accomplished today. Without me and Aiden discovering what had happened, and then the others helping us, I would hate to imagine how many more women would have been beaten and killed.
But thankfully, that was never going to happen again.
Natalia clicked her fingers.
I forgot to mention everyone.
I got a call from Hippocrates, god of medicine, doctors and biology. He wanted to know why so many of his superheroes were having to treat swollen testicles. We all bursted out laughing, and I was flat out pleased with all of us. So as we all just laid there rolling around on the floor of my office, laughing more and more about everything, I just knew that I really did have the best possible friends imaginable. And there was absolutely no group of people I would rather have helping me treat, protect and help people. No one else at all.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.